Missouri football loses an assistant coach, and the Missouri basketball team loses another game in absolutely horrific fashion. So, all of this and more coming up right now on Locked On Mizzou.
You are Locked On Mizzou, your daily podcast on the Missouri Tigers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hail, you true sons and daughters. I'm John Miller, your Mizzou mafioso and the central scrutinizer of Missouri Tigers football and basketball. And thanks for making me your first listen every day. We are, of course, free and available on all platforms. And today's episode is brought to you by Sonos. Sonos is the official sponsor of ESPN College Football. Go to Sonos.com to learn more. And yeah, we got to talk about that horrific basketball game. But you know what? Let's lead with some happier things, shall we? Because that's the kind of mood that I would like to be in today and not be in a terrible mood. So let's start with something happy, and that's with Missouri running back Tyler Beatty being named the SEC Scholar Athlete of the Year by the league coaches. Big honor for that young man with his 3.83 grade point average. Beatty reportedly has spent more than 150 hours doing community service during his time at Mizzou. So again, Beatty proving that he's just a good all-around guy, and nice to see that the rest of the league has taken notice. But some other news as well, of course, on the football field. As you might expect, it is transfer portal season. More stuff happening. This time, it's linebacker, defensive end Jartorian Hansford has now entered the transfer portal. His 27 career tackles now heading out the door. Not a huge surprise there. He's actually one of the names that I targeted as a guy who's been in the program for a while, but hasn't really completely cracked certainly the first string of the depth chart too often. So generally those type of guys and this day and age will look to move on at the end of their career. So good luck to Jartorian wherever he ends up in his future football career, of course. And Missouri tight end coach Casey Woods, well, he's now, I should say, former Missouri tight ends coach Casey Woods, because he got a bit of an upgrade. He is now the offensive coordinator at Southern Methodist. So obviously SMU felt like Casey Woods was a good hire for them. Obviously a bit of a loss for Missouri. He was their recruiting coordinator as well. But from what I understand, it's not as though Casey Woods was in charge of all the ins and outs of Missouri recruiting, and this should be a time for fans to panic. I don't think that's the case whatsoever. I think Missouri would have liked to have held on to Casey Woods, but guess what? This is the nature of college football and coaching. The assistants go round and round. It's a carousel without question. And hopefully, speaking of the coaching carousel, well, certainly at the head coaching position, Eli Drinkwitz not in any danger of losing his job anytime soon. But you have to say a mildly disappointing season for the Tigers this season. And that's not just from a Mizzou fan's perspective. It was interesting. I was reading The Athletic the other day, and, well, they gave out this particular article. A bunch of writers gave out grades to the SEC coaches. And, well, it was a lot of C minuses and D pluses, that kind of deal for Eli Drinkwitz. No B's, that's for sure. So, in other words, it wasn't just Mizzou fans who had higher expectations this season. It seemed like the nation, the college football world in general, had higher expectations for Missouri this season. But quite honestly, when you take a step back, even though this was a disappointing year, I've said it before and I'll say it again. As long as Missouri keeps recruiting at an unprecedented high level, things are good. They really are. Just keep the train moving forward. But I will say, eventually you got to find a quarterback, because at the beginning of the season, I thought Missouri almost had an embarrassment of riches at the quarterback position. You had the SEC Freshman of the Year and Connor Bazelak returning. You had Tyler Macon, the highly ranked 4-star quarterback, the Elite 11 kid coming out of East St. Louis. I like what I've seen out of Brady Cook at times, and now Sam Horn coming in next season as a true freshman, maybe the most talented person of everybody I've just listed there. But now, of course, things have changed. You've seen a little bit of Macon. Maybe you didn't love it immediately. He's not a star immediately. Oh, no, let's panic. But even more concerning, Bazelak just regressed this season. Maybe it was injury. Maybe it was something else. Maybe he'll progress next season. It's possible. But you got to at least worry. And if you're Eli Drinkwitz, if there's a big name in the transfer portal, like, say, Oklahoma's Spencer Rattler, who you can at least kick the tires on, you have to consider it now. Because if the quarterback position, if you don't have one, you're screwed, especially at a school like Missouri. You can get by at Georgia with questions at quarterback, right? But at Missouri, it's not going to happen. You're just going to be battling it out in sort of the muck and the mire of mediocrity if you never have a quarterback, right? All the great Missouri teams, they've always had at least an above average quarterback. James Franklin was the floor. I think people don't realize how good he was, by the way. We would take James Franklin in a second right now, wouldn't we? All you people who criticized him years ago, yeah, I think you miss him now, don't you? And I'll tell you another thing I miss, and that's actual fun, entertaining basketball. That Missouri Liberty game was just an absolute slog to get through last night. I felt like I was punishing myself for watching that game, but I promise I won't punish you in this next segment about basketball. But first, I got to tell you about Bet Online, which has you covered all season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football season continues the march to the NFL playoffs and, of course, bowl season and the college football playoff as well. Naturally, Bet Online has you covered with anything you could possibly imagine, from football, basketball, hockey, even your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available, including your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit when you use the promo code Locked On. Once again, promo code Locked On for a 50% welcome bonus when you sign up today at Bet Online, where the game starts. I'm going to assume that most of you in the audience have probably seen Chappelle's Show before from back in the day, right? Well, remember the player haters ball sketch? Well, when it comes to Missouri basketball, allow me to channel Chappelle's character, Silky Johnson, here for a second. What can I say about this Missouri basketball team that hasn't already been said about Afghanistan? Like, seriously, folks, how bad can you possibly be? Well, apparently you can be so bad that you hit 3 field goals in the first half of a basketball game. That is astonishingly bad. And in fact, Missouri was lucky to get to 14 points in the half. That's one of the worst calls I've seen in basketball, by the way. Not an exaggeration when Amari Davis at the end of the first half leans in from half court and makes no contact with anybody that I can see. But the referee saw fit. Oh, yeah, he definitely deserves free throws there. Davis hits all 3 of them to get to 14 points for the Tigers. I don't even know what, again, I made a joke there at the top. I'm really not joking. I don't know what to say about this team anymore. And that's a problem. My job is to come on this podcast and talk about Missouri football and basketball. Well, not a lot of football is going to be happening over the next few months, and it doesn't seem like any watchable men's basketball is going to be happening over the next few months either. So what am I to do? I guess I have to make the pivot to women's basketball this season, because I don't know how many times I can watch this team just aimlessly throw the ball around the perimeter in vain hopes of something magical happening. Because say what you will the last few seasons about Konzo Martin's offensive coaching, to me, his biggest bugaboo was, again, his failure to recruit players, and particularly shooters. You know, Mark Smith, in theory, was supposed to be a great shooter, but that kind of went away last season. Same thing with Torrance Watson, right? For whatever reason, he could just never find his shot. And certainly last season, and even before that, it felt like, man, the offense is getting decent shots here. They're getting open shots that these guys just sometimes aren't good enough to make. They're just not good enough shooters. Well, this team, again, I'm not even sure what the heck they're doing offensively. Not sure what the plan is. I'm not sure who they're running the offense through. What shots are they attempting to get? None of it makes any sense. And quite honestly, as somebody who fell in love with Missouri really much more so as a child because of basketball, because of Norm Stewart and Anthony Peeler and Doug Smith and Melvin Booker and Javon Crudup and those type of guys, I can't imagine that anybody that I just listed there can actually sit down and watch this team without losing their lunch, figuratively speaking. What is going on the basketball court? College basketball is difficult enough to watch right now, but the way Missouri is playing is just downright embarrassing. They can't score. It's impossible. I'm just going to stop this segment now because I really, really don't even know what else to say. I really don't. It's just that bad. And frankly, what else can I say other than fire Conzo Martin? That's what everybody wants me to say, right? Well, to just say fire Conzo. Well, I basically did say that after the Wichita State game. I did everything except utter those two words. And frankly, the only reason I'm not going to literally say it now is because there's no point. They're not going to fire him in the middle of the season. This season is what it is. But at the end of the year, yeah, let's start gathering up. Let's start rounding up the usual suspects when it comes to big money donors, because somebody is going to have to write a check at the end of this season. This is unacceptable to me. This kind of basketball is unacceptable. And it'd be one thing if this was just seemed like an off year or whatever. This is a team of all Conzo Martin players that he recruited, and these are the guys that are going to be on the team next year too. He doesn't get to just run these guys off and then bring in a whole new crew of guys. That he hasn't earned that right. I'm sorry. This team is that horrifically bad, and I can't stand for it anymore. I can't watch it. It's that bad. But anyway, on a cheerier note, let's get to something I actually do like in this world still, and that's Built Bar. The holiday season is here. Grab the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, or even better than a candy bar sometimes. That's Built Bar, filled with so much holiday goodness, rich with decadent flavor, covered in chocolate, but amazingly low in calories, sugar, net carbs, and fat. And oh yes, high in protein as well. You get the best of both worlds, delicious and healthy. So go to built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15, and you will get 15% off your next order. Once again, built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off your next order. You know, often on this program, I like to talk about betting. And a big reason for that, well, is because of one of our fine sponsors over at betonline.ag. And those people, boy, they've really got just a tremendous amount of things to bet on over there. Obviously, every sport, this isn't an ad, by the way, I have a point. They have so many things to bet on. It's really incredible. Not just the amount of sports, stuff, international sports, by the way, that you don't even think about, stuff like cricket and soccer, but here's the deal. Not only that, they have so many props that they offer, all this stuff. The point is they don't have enough people on staff to pay attention to every single game, right? It's just impossible. So to me, there was this debate I saw on Power Mizzou the other day. It was people talking about how, anybody who bets on college basketball is an idiot. That was sort of the general idea of the thread. And to me, I have to disagree with that. Now, if you want to say betting in general is stupid, well, that's a whole other conversation. But why is betting on college basketball specifically a bad idea versus, say, betting on pro football? Because to me, yeah, if you're going to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs, I would say that our buddies over at betonline.ag, even though I've watched every snap the Chiefs have taken this season, they probably know more about the Chiefs than I do. Because guess what? It's the NFL. It's one of the biggest public teams there is, with one of the most famous players in the world, Patrick Mahomes. They need to know a lot about the Chiefs because they're getting a tremendous amount of actual dollars put on the Chiefs and just the NFL in general every single week. Now compare that to the Missouri Tiger basketball team. How much money do you think was actually put on the Missouri Liberty game last night, for instance, especially compared to the Kansas City Chiefs game? They're playing the Broncos this week. I would say probably by a factor of maybe 1%, there may have been that much betting on that game, maybe less, quite honestly. That's the level of just interest in college basketball and Missouri basketball in general versus the Chiefs. So my point is, in setting all this up, who do you think my friends over at Bet Online are going to concentrate more on? So my point is, you actually do have an opportunity. If you pay attention to Missouri basketball or just any conference in general, say the SEC, or even better, go down a lower level, go down to the Patriot League and start watching that stuff. Yeah, but here's the problem. That sounds like at least a part-time job, right? Well, it is for sure. But if you want to make money betting, you're going to have more knowledge and, frankly, superior knowledge to the people who are setting the lines. Now, the way you can gain that knowledge is because, again, something like college basketball, focus on that. Heck, focus on the WNBA or something that's a little bit off the radar that you're sort of big professional bettors aren't really concentrating on so much. That's my whole point. You have to have an edge. You got to know something that the public doesn't know. That's how you make money. So this idea that, oh, well, college basketball, that's just dumb. That's stupid. I disagree with that whole notion. And here's the thing. Most of these people, I'm sure, who said it was dumb probably have tried to bet on college basketball before, I'm guessing, and it probably didn't go that great. So I understand that. But as you all know, I'm a stock trader. I talk about that occasionally. Well, I'm more of a fundamental analysis kind of guy. So I just sort of look at a company, see how they're doing, look at their actual earnings, and just sort of use my own common sense and wisdom that I've accumulated over the years to say, hey, I think actually this company's undervalued. Whereas lots of other people do what they call technical analysis. They look at charts, and that's how they decide what they're going to buy and sell. Now, for me, I've never been a technical analysis guy. To me, a chart, that's not enough for me to believe in a stock enough. That type of stuff just doesn't work for me. But at the same time, I recognize that it does work for a lot of people. There are a lot of technical chart people out there, traders, that have made tons and tons of money, more money than I have in my career. That's for darn sure. So it would be rather arrogant of me to say that just because I can't do it, that no one can do it, or just, well, technical analysis, that's dumb. Sorry, that's the wrong idea. It's too dismissive, and frankly, it misses the entire point. But you know what? Hopefully I haven't missed the point on today's program. Sorry, we have nothing happy to talk about with Tiger basketball, but you know what? As the cliche goes, it is what it is. And you know what? Thanks once again for making this show your first listen. Make your second listen Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q, with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. It is free and available on all platforms. So until next time, I am John Miller, and this has been Locked on Mizzou.